The jungle of the alien world stretched endlessly under a pale violet sky, the trees towering with roots twisted like serpents, the air thick with the scent of unknown flora and the distant calls of creatures unseen. My boots sank slightly into the soft ground as I advanced, carefully scanning the shadows for movement. The team had been ahead moments ago, their laughter and chatter fading into the dense foliage until I was alone and the silence pressed against my ears, a warning that I should not ignore. I caught movement out of the corner of my eye, a ripple in the undergrowth almost imperceptible, and I froze, heart-hammering, blood rushing through my veins as I realized she was watching from the shadows, her eyes gleaming gold and amber twin fires. Set against the darkness, her form enormous, easily 12 feet of muscle and fluid motion, her skin marked with alien patterns that glimmered faintly in the dim light, and horns curved elegantly from her head like twisted sculptures she did not move toward me. Immediately merely observed, calculating, assessing her prey. The first strike came without warning, a blur of movement faster than my eyes could follow. She landed in the clearing in a crouch like a mountain, cat her claws scraping against stone and dirt, the sound loud and terrifying. And before I could react, she was on me, lifting me effortlessly into the air, her grip firm, yet somehow precise enough to avoid crushing bone as she held me before her eyes locked on mine. And I could see the curiosity, the possessiveness, the hunger in her gaze that made every instinct in my body scream with fear and a strange, intoxicating desire. I struggled, kicking, thrashing, yelling, but she did not release me. Instead, she carried me toward the nearest cavern hidden behind thick roots and hanging vines or steps, making the earth tremble. She set me down gently against the stone floor of the cave, yet her eyes never left me. The first night was long. I could not sleep. The sound of her breathing, the scrape of her claws, the low rumble of her growl, vibrating through the chamber, made my mind whirl with terror, fascination, and anticipation all at once. She spoke in her language, a series of low vibrations that I could feel more than hear, her meaning gradually becoming clear, that her species mates once, and that she had chosen me. The weight of that revelation made my chest tight and my limbs weak. I realized my survival depended on yielding to her dominance, yet some part of me resisted the idea of surrendering completely, even as every instinct in my body knew I already belonged to her. Days, or what I assumed were days, passed in this pattern. She hunted, bringing meat for me first, letting me eat, while she watched closely, her eyes never leaving me, her presence overwhelming yet comforting. In a paradoxical way, she circled me slowly, pressing her body against mine, at times nudging me to stand, walk, or feed. Yet the pressure of her gaze always reminded me that I was hers, and that nothing and no one could claim me in her world. The alien jungle outside remained alive with movement, predators stalking one another, rivers glowing faintly with bioluminescence, creatures of unimaginable shapes roaming the terrain. Yet inside the cave, time seemed suspended. All that existed was her power, her claim, and the slow building bond between us. She would study my reactions, my movements, the way I ate, breathed, even the way I looked at her, and respond with low rumbles, gestures, and nudges that communicated far more than any words ever could. I learned her patterns, her preferences, her moods. We moved together, sometimes hunting together through the dense alien forest. She'd teach me how to track, how to listen, how to anticipate threats. And I following, trying to keep up the gap between human frailty and her monstrous perfection was impossible. Yet I was learning survival in a way I had never imagined. As she guided me through the dangers, I realized her lessons were more than physical. They were intimate psychological lessons on obedience, on trust, on the bond that would bind us forever. The nights became our own private realm, she curling around me, her massive frame a shield, her horns arching protectively above her eyes, watching me with molten fire intensity. The vibrations of her language, soothing and commanding at once. I could feel my pulse sinking with hers, a rhythm that defined our connection. I could not resist, and did not want to resist, the primal knowledge that, once chosen by her, no other would ever claim me, penetrated every thought, every heartbeat. She tested me, often pressing her dominance through mock attacks, nudges that made me stumble, my instinct to flee clashing against the pull to submit. She rewarded obedience with soft rumblings, gentle nudges, even allowing me to touch her skin under careful supervision, the tactile sensation alien, yet intimate, sending shivers through my body. The mixture of fear and desire intoxicating each interaction, a lesson in surrender and acceptance, a prelude to the night that would bind my heart forever. Finally came the night she deemed the bond complete. She led me to the center of the cave beneath the faint glow of luminescent crystals, the air thick with musk, and warmed her body, close, my hands trembling against her massive chest. She pressed against me until I felt my soul tremble with the inevitability of her claim, her eyes locked on mine golden, and absolute a promise of ownership, and a warning that once this night passed I would never belong to anyone else. I surrendered fully that night the primal energy of her species, the rhythm of our bodies, the inevitability of her dominance, and my acceptance merging into a singular experience that left no room for fear, no room for doubt, only the absolute certainty that my heart belonged to her forever, that every pulse, every breath was hers to command. She whispered low vibrations into my mind, a language older than words, and I understood. Completely my essence entwined with hers, a promise fulfilled in the most intimate of ways. Afterward, the world outside continued its alien chaos, predators prowling rivers, glowing in trees, swaying under violet skies, yet within the cave a new reality existed my life, forever entwined with hers. I no longer feared the jungle, for she was the apex predator and protector, and I was hers, bound by species law, by primal promise, and by the night that claimed my heart for eternity. Over weeks, months, I learned her fully, her moods, her desires, her strength, and she mined the bond, a living thing. We moved together, hunted together, slept, entwined our connection, deepening beyond words, into instinct, into reflex, into the very pulse of life itself. I realized I could never leave, nor would I want to. Every thought, every heartbeat tethered to her massive frame, her horns a crown of dominance, her eyes a mirror of what I had become hers. And though I knew the dangers of the alien world outside, I felt safe in a way no human civilization could ever provide. The predators feared her, the environment yielded to her presence, and I thrived within the cocoon of her dominance, her love, and her absolute claim over my heart, a claim that once given could never be broken or questioned, for she was a 12-foot tall alien girl, and one night with her had bound me for Eve.